I won't drive in Boston anymore. I pulled up to the intersection. There, across the intersection, there's 3 lanes of cars heading at me.
Oh, gosh.
And I look up and there's no stoplight. And I'm like, shit. And I look over, there's 3 guys standing on the corner. And one of them just looks at me and he goes like this. Like, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what do I do? I put the window on. I'm like, what do I do? He's like, he goes, you're effed. Yeah. I'm like, thank you. So I didn't beg you. I just went right and just got the hell out of there.
From Maine's cold coast to Connecticut pride, Vermont's green hills, take it all in stride. Massachusetts traffic, we grip and we grind with a Dunkin' iced coffee and no peace of mind. So New England stands up proud. Shouters think we shout it loud. From Fenway Chance to Rhode Island tie, New Hampshire's cry, live free or die. So New England with Ian Brownhill.
Good friggin' morning from New England, folks. Welcome back. Episode 3 of the Business Spotlight, our newest adventure here on the podcast, where we are trying to help reach out and promote some of the amazing individuals and businesses that make our region so special. RJ, can you please tell us who today's guest is?
Absolutely. My pleasure as always, because our business spotlight is something we take lots of pride in, because New England thrives on local, homey businesses that make our communities great. And today's guest couldn't be more impactful, as his business plays a huge part in making those New England businesses thrive by focusing on operational excellence, quality management, and professional training. We welcome one of our day one supporters and a great friend of mine, representing and holding it down for Lean Consulted, Mr. Paul Critchley.
Thanks, RJ. Best intro ever.
I was going to say, you're a listener of the pod, so I was curious if you were wondering to see, like, hey, how is this going to come together?
You got to try to put the spin on it, because everyone's like, what the hell is lean and operational act? What is this? You know,
Yes.
Where's my pizza review?
I love it. Well, Paul, thank you so much for making the time and the investment and coming on the podcast today to chat with us. We're really excited to have you on. I think, as we kind of spoke prior to we got this episode going here, lean consulting is something that is going to be completely new to me, but that's what I love the most about this podcast, is learning, and not only learning new things, but new friends. So here we are. Paul, please explain to me lean consulting. What is it that you do? Where are you based out of? How can people learn about what's happening here?
Yeah. So yeah. Again, thanks for having me. Basically, the way I put it is a couple of different ways, right? If I'm at a barbecue and people say, "What do you do?" and I'm like, "Oh, I own a lean consulting firm." They're like, I don't know what that is. It's basically a way to make work suck less, is the way I usually ease into it. And people, of course, that's right. Everybody can get behind that, right?
Right.
So, have you ever seen Bar Rescue or Restaurant Impossible, like those TV shows?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Big fans.
It's that. That's what I do. That's what we do. But with, like, I always say, less yelling. Like, I'm not a yelling guy. I'm not big enough. I'm like $180. So I'm not big enough to like bully anybody. Not that I would anyway. That's obvious, right? But so that's basically what it is. So we I'm a mechanical engineer, and I spent my whole life in manufacturing and in operations, right? And I've done automotive parts and medical devices and military jet engines, bunch of other stuff.
Wow.
And then I really wanted to go out on my own. My dad was always self-employed. I grew up, born and raised in Maine, so I got to plug that, or they take my Mainer card.
Yeah.
If I don't, and I never shut up about it. Anytime I'm talking about, like, did you know Maine is the only state that only has one syllable in it? And everyone's like, I didn't ask, right? But but my dad was always self-employed, so he kind of, he always kind of set that, and he always told me, you get out what you put in. So, I'm working, I'm doing the thing for like 20 some odd years, working for other people. And I always had that entrepreneurial spirit, I guess, right? I always wanted to do my own thing. And quite frankly, my wife just got so sick of me bitching about it all the time. She's like, just try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And you can just go get another job at some point. So I'm like, all right. So we did that. So 2012, I opened up shop. I will say I didn't jump into it both feet right away. I did try to like warm up to it and do some moonlighting and that kind of stuff. And honestly, didn't work awesome. And then finally, I'm like, by 2015, it was like the spring of 2015. I said, I'm either going to do this or I'm not, because this doesn't work. So it was at that point I said, it was a little scary. We have 2 daughters, and at the time they were like 7 and 4, or right. So it was, I'm like, I don't, this is probably on paper, this makes 0 sense. Right. But looking back now, probably smartest thing I ever did. So pretty proud of that. So yeah. But anyways,
awesome.
Like I said,
Good for you.
it's just a way to try to make work better. In lean and OpEx, we just talk a lot about, it's kind of the opposite of mass production, if that makes any sense. Like you see it and we see it on TV all the time, right? There's Costco and Sam's Club and all this kind of stuff. It's really that, how they make things more, less expensive is they just make more of it, right? So they amortize the setup costs and all the overhead and everything over more product. One of the issues with that, though, is they're making all that extra product even if nobody wants it. So eventually, that's why you see a lot of things like they go in the bargain bin or they go on sale, or like, the TJ Maxx's and stuff of the world. Like those are the places that buy all the stuff that didn't sell when it was at the original store, right? So that's kind of how that flows down. It's one way to do it. Lean will say, we aren't going to make whatever that thing is until somebody wants it or until somebody orders it. Then we set the system up to be able to support that as fast as humanly possible.
Okay.
So that's kind of a little bit of a nuance, right? So it's kind of anti-mass manufacturing in a way.
Excellent. Okay. So then how does that work on your end as far as like how you pivot yourself between those larger corporations and that mass production and the everyday, like, do you only work with these larger corporations? Do you work with smaller businesses? Are you global? Are you national? Is it just the East Coast? Like, tell me how that's all spread out.
Yeah, good question. So we're regional. We are New England Lean Consulting.
Beautiful.
So I draw the line at the New York border, and I think we can all get in favor of that, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I could have swore you said the New England border. So I think you mean New Haven is where it kind of cuts off.
Fair.
It's technically the New England border.
I mean, yeah, the 203 is like New York Junior. So yeah. we do have clients in that area code. So I got to be a little careful.
All right. Well, allow it just for your clients.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so I will say, I say that having just had a bit of a nightmare trip back from St. Louis, because one of our clients who's based here in Connecticut, they have a bunch of different spots around the country. So they asked, like, can you do us a solid and go do some training? And I'm like, yeah. So every once in a while we do venture out, but we really do try to stay here in New England.
Excellent.
And we don't work with a bunch of giant companies. The vast majority, probably 85% of our clients are what I call small to medium-sized manufacturers. The smallest one we have is Pepperell. It's a machine shop of 2 brothers, right? And it, obviously goes up from there, but a lot of our clients are, 10 to 50 employees. That's the bulk of it. Larger companies, they have 20 people on staff that do what we do already. They don't really need the help. It's the smaller, medium-sized folks that, quite frankly, it wouldn't make any sense to have folks like us on staff because there's not enough to do. So they can leverage us like, hey, come in when we need you and we'll just pay you for that little section of time, and then you can help us and then you go away. And that it just works out better financially for them, works out for us because we can help a lot more clients that way instead of going right to the same place all the time. So, and it's a lot of fun. I get to see so many cool things. Like we have clients to do all kinds of stuff. A lot of manufacturing, especially here in Connecticut, there's a lot of aerospace, right? So there's a lot of tier 1 and 2 clients we have to the big, like the big guys, the Raytheons, the Pratt & Whitneys of the world. So it's just, so there's that. We have library. We've done some work with, local libraries, other nonprofits, hospitals, medical offices, Brown University, we did some work with a few years ago. So, we get involved in a lot of, cool stuff, and it's different. So every day is different, which, I like.
Excellent. Now I want to kind of get into like the nitty gritty and the meat of it. And maybe this is just me and maybe RJ or Vin might be understanding it, but I guess what I'd like to understand further is what is it exactly that you're doing like on site? Is your consulting aspect a computerized, digitized thing where you're helping people work efficiently, or are you physically bringing in people for manual labor to work faster? Those are like the kind of two avenues I'm hearing. And I'm like, or is it a little bit of both?
I'd say it's a little bit of both and a little bit of neither, quite honestly.
Okay.
A lot
All
of
right.
times, so it's like a lot of times when you think about work, like whatever it is that we all do, right, that your listeners do, there's a certain portion of that work that's just what we call in lean, we call it waste, right? And in the original, there's 7. There's transportation, and there's a quiz at the end, so I'll quiz you later, right? There's transportation, inventory. Yeah, right. Quick. Motion, overproduction, overprocessing, and defects. So like if you're working along and you're, working on a machine and the machine's acting up and every 5th part that you make gets screwed up and is thrown away, that's a waste. It's a waste of your time, your efforts, right? The whole thing. And so what we do is we try to come in and we help decipher like what the heck's going on, like why does that happen? I'll give you another one or another example of transportation. We go into clients all the time, and they'll set up a machine. Say a machine, like we have a lot of machine shops that are clients, right? So they'll have lathes and mills, and it takes 2 hours to set up this machine to run these parts. When in reality, you can do it in about 15, 20 minutes. But the issue is their toolbox, instead of being right next to them, is way far away, or they're sharing it, right? And say RJ and I have it, right, and we're sharing it, and he didn't put the tools back. So then I got to stop what I'm doing. I got to go find him and be like, RJ, where's the 10 millimeter socket? And he's like, oh, right, I had it a couple days. I think I set it down over there. And then over there doesn't it? So we got to get Vin. Vinny, did you get? Oh yeah, I threw it my, and before you know it, 5-10 minutes go by, and then I get back, and then I'm like, all right, where was I again? And that situation plays out over and over and over, right? So it's that kind of stuff that we try to shed the light on, and then we help clients instill the solutions to it, right? So we'll say things like, you got a whole Snap-on roll-away toolbox. It's chock full of tools. You don't need all of those. Let's figure out what tools you do need right here, and then let's put them right there. They don't go anywhere, right? They are literally like right here in arm's reach, so you can grab it when you need it, and that's kind of the end of it. That's just a couple of examples. But it's stuff like that when you're so close to, when you do it every day for 5, 10, 20 years, you just don't think about it anymore. Right. So that's part of the value we bring is when we come in, we can look at things with some fresh eyes and say, this doesn't make any sense. Like this is way harder than it needs to be. So we basically just try to make things easier. And once they're easier, they get faster and they get less expensive.
Would it be fair to say that you're essentially like a efficiency expert, helping people be as efficient with executing their time for the value?
Yeah. I mean, I try not to, I don't consider myself an expert, but
Gotcha.
Well,
a loose term.
It feels weird. It's
I gotcha.
It's like, who am I? But yeah, it's all about efficiency. And I will say this because sometimes, and my wife yells at me all the time. I get in these LinkedIn arguments with people. And she's like, what is wrong with you? You can't argue with people on the internet. And I'm like, I know, but it frustrates me because it's not about breaking a sweat. It's not about coming into work and going 100 miles an hour all day long to try to make as many widgets as you possibly can. That's actually the opposite of what it really is. We try to come in and we make the process make sense. So if I got to run a machine or whatever it is I'm going to do, I can come in, get my job done, not beat my head against a wall, not have a bunch of questions, not get a bill of materials that's wrong or a blueprint that doesn't look quite right, and have to go find somebody and ask a bunch of questions, right? It's taking away all of those things. So when I can come in, I can work at a nice, steady, even pace, and get the thing done and just and move on, right? That's kind of it's fun when we do full lean transformations, right, with clients. It's fun to watch because you can see the output goes up, sales goes up, profits go up, but the people who are doing the work are like, they're like, I don't feel like I'm busy. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not running around trying to mitigate risk and bad things all day long. You come in, your work is brought to you, you do it, and you're done. And that's it. I've had a few times people have pulled me aside and they'll say, Are we going out of business? And I'm like, why would you think that? And they're like, well, look at the shop. There's no work in the shop. And I'm like, well, that's because you're used to seeing inventory sitting around, and that's all bad. Inventory that's all it does is cost you money. I'm like, the whole idea is get it in, get it through, and get it out. And that's what you're seeing. And I'll point to, like, a lot of times they'll have big monitors on the shop floor that'll show sales. And I'm like, look at your sales. Your sales are double in the last year, right? That's kind of the name of the game. And it's just taking waste out of the system so we can come in, do our jobs, and ultimately have a better life, right? And there's a story I tell a lot. We had a client, it's a long-term client of ours, and one of the guys there has worked there now probably 30 years, but this is probably 5 years or so ago. And he was nervous because I don't know if you've seen Office Space, the movie.
Yes.
You remember the Bobs?
Somewhat.
A little bit older.
I haven't seen it in a long, long time. So,
well, you were like 3 when it came out. For me, this is like my college years.
Yeah.
But so the Bobs are the two consultants, and basically they're there to like cut heads, right? They're trying to figure out who belongs and who doesn't. Sometimes we walk in and we look like the Bobs, right? So we have to overcome that part of it. But so this guy he was a little leery, but got to know me, and we'd chat and everything. And he pulled me aside and he goes, "Hey man, I just want to say thanks because all you've done here, it's so much better than it was. Because prior, it was everything you think, like when you guys think manufacturing, right? It was that. It was cold in the winter, hot in the summer. You could see the oil coolant mist in the air in the shop, and it was miserable. Everybody was just in a bad mood. They're always late. Their clients hated them, and they were legit not too far away from having to close the doors, right? So now, you'd never guess it was the same place. And it wasn't just, it wasn't us. We were just their coaches, but it was what the team put in. But so he's like, "Hey man, I just want to say thank you for all you've done." And I'm like, "Well, I appreciate it. But it was us together, I'm like, you especially, you got the team together, you did this, you did that." And I'm like, but I appreciate it. He's like, "Well, all right, that's fair." He goes, "But I want to tell you something." He goes, "I have 3 boys." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "They play football." I'm like, "Yeah," because we talk about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, with my oldest 2, I always wanted to help coach when they were in Pee Wee, but I never could because I never even asked if I could take that time off because I knew the answer was going to be no. But with my little guy now, I'm able to do that because of all of these things that we've done." So I talk a lot about how life gets better. And people always give me like, "Oh my, here comes the sales pitch." But that's a true story. And I'm like, when we do this right, that's what we get. Because sometimes people think lean and they're like, "Oh, it's cost cutting and this, that, and the other." And I'm like, I mean, that's part of it, but that comes later. The first part is we take care of our employees. That comes first. The rest of this is it's a result of having taken care of our employees first.
Love that.
That's awesome.
And you guys have to wear a lot of hats too, right? Because the leaning out portion of this is not as simple as like one task is because once like anyone that's ever tried to fix anything, once you lift that one page, you realize you have to lift the next and the next and the next. So what is the due diligence process for you? Like, is it different for every business? Do you have a structure where you go in with your team and you're like, okay, you over here, you over there, you give me the books, you show me the manufacturing steps. Like, how does that typical process go with execution?
Yeah, it does kind of depend on what the customer and the clients are up to, what they do, what their issues are. So we do get involved in a bunch of different things. I mean, sometimes it's personnel, not that we're necessarily personnel experts, but sometimes it's skill set kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Other times it's just the process itself is just broken, right? Because a lot of times we don't think that way, right? We just think, oh, I get an order for 1,000 pieces of whatever. So we're going to release that order to the shop floor. We're going to do all 1,000 pieces through the first step. Then we're going to do all 1,000 pieces through the second step, and so on and so forth. Well, when you do that, invariably, those pieces are going to be sitting around for a while because step 2 wasn't ready for them, right? And it's just now trying to manage all that. And there are whole departments that do this. They're called planning, but it becomes unwieldy pretty darn quick. So what we do is we try to, what you're describing is called, it's a bottleneck, right? So you go from bottleneck to try to reduce them or eliminate them wherever we can. And it's all under the umbrella of what we call tack time, which is just a fancy way of saying, what's our customer demand rate? If we have to make 50 of these a shift, then we try to help set up the systems to support 50 a shift. Not 1,000, not 500, 50. Right? Now, you can go faster if you want to, because then you can take those resources and go do something else with them if we need to. But a lot of times it comes at a cost, right? So, because the faster you want things to move, the more expensive they tend to get. So it's a balance against what does the customer want us to do? And then we meet that expectation. And that's about it, right? And then from there, it just depends on right where we're looking and what rocks we're going to kick over. And
now what could be some, let's say hypothetically, there's some listeners here that are fellow business owners that might be in search of the services that you're offering right now. And hopefully they're getting inclined as they listen. What is the evaluation process for you? Like, what was something, if a business was questioning whether or not that your services were something that they would need, what would you offer them? What are 3 questions they should ask themselves as business owners to decide if this is the route that they should be going to hire you for your services?
Good question. So I'll tell you, the questions I usually ask are, when your folks walk in the morning, how do they know what they need to do? When they leave at the end of the day, how do they know that they got done what they need to get done? Now, you would think that those are pretty easy questions to answer. And a lot of times they're not, because there's not a good system to answer those questions. 95 times out of 100, the answers I typically get right out of the gate are, well, I go ask my supervisor. Well, if that's your answer, then right away I can tell you that you're operating somewhat inefficiently. Now, as far as we talk a lot about return on investment, right? ROI kind of stuff. Yep. We have a client that we helped. We tripled the output of this one area in 4 months by just taking waste out of the system. So by doing that, they were able to, avoid just hiring a bunch more people, which quite frankly, they didn't have space for anyway. So the people would have been tripping over each other and only operating at, the best would have been 50%, efficiency as a person anyways, right? Because they would have had to share things and it just didn't make any sense. And on top of that, they were talking about adding on to the building, which if anybody works in construction, especially in commercial, that ain't cheap.
Yeah.
So it's hang on.
Or easy, it's very time consuming.
Right. Right. And I mean, not for nothing, every client we have has open requisitions right now for people, and it's hard to find folks to fill jobs. Yeah. So
everyone wants to be an influencer.
I tried, but I think I have 18 followers on TikTok. So I'm getting there.
Crushing it.
I'm getting there. Although the best, I'll say, I was just up in Maine visiting a client, and I did a video of going over the Piscataqua Bridge. And I set it to one of the new Noah Khan songs, and I'm up to 8,000 views. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go.
There you go.
You're famous now, Paul.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I screenshot it and sent it to my kid. I'm like, hey, your dad's an influencer now, so I got people. So you're going to have to, if you want to see me or talk to me, you got to schedule it. She's like, yeah, all right. Such a dork.
I love it.
So yeah, so that's kind of, honestly, that's kind of what we try to get into. And we just try to, a lot of times I'll talk to a business owner and I'm like, look, I'm not an expert in every process that there is, but what we try to do is just help you do what you do better. right? And a lot of times, we spend a lot of time with the folks who actually do the work. I always say they are your experts because they do it 40, 50 hours a week. So they know when something's off, whether it doesn't look right, sound right, smell right, right? It's like if you ever bring your car into the dealer for
Right.
like warranty work because it's making some weird noise. So the tech, right? The tech takes it for a spin around the block, throws you the keys, and says, what?
RJ, this one's you.
Hey, man, that's just fine.
Basically, like, I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because, and the reason is, well, there could be lots of reasons. The reason I always quote, though, is they just don't know, right? I drive my truck probably 22,000 miles a year. Like, I log a lot of windshield time. So I know every squeak and rattle and buzz, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll
True.
know if there's a new one. And I'm like, that's not right, you know? And,
Yeah.
you know, if I can't find it, it's like, here, you guys figure it out. Same thing goes for people.
Or you can feel it too.
Yeah.
Like you just
the same thing.
Feels like you don't
goes-
have a lug nut on your back tire or something.
Yeah.
Which,
been there.
I'll tell you that story. I've actually had a wheel come off because of that. That's 0 out of 10, by the way. Do not recommend. It was scary as hell.
Good to know.
But yeah, so that wasn't good. But when it comes to lean, you know, we just talked to the folks who are actually doing the work. And like I said, they know what's up, right? It's just a matter of, has anybody ever asked them before? You know, and we'll ask probing questions and like, what's this? What's that? And why is that over here? Right. So we have kind of a checklist of things that we're looking for.
Right.
Because a lot of times, again, people just get so used to things just being the way it is. They don't even think like, why am I taking 15 steps to go get this? This is dumb, right? So it's that kind of stuff. So we just try to take those shades off and try to, you know.
That
try to
sounds
help.
so cool. Yeah. I was going to say too, because like, I was going to ask. So, you know, you've been at this for quite some time, a little over a decade now. Do you feel like there's maybe 2 or 3 things that are very common that are just more like, say like maybe a generational thing or just our time where it's like, you know, you kind of know like, oh, well, you know, that's one thing we got to, you know, nip in the butt. And it's like, you know, from the one business to the next business, no matter the size, the business, what it is, who it is, or anything like that. It's like, you know, the same, maybe 2 or 3 things.
There's patterns that emerge, right? For sure. It's a lot of times communication is a big one, which I know is a pretty big topic, but it's just the handoffs, right? And that's where I get when you walk in the morning, how do you know what to work on, right? At some point, and I'll give you a quick example. We have a client who does, they work in clothing, right? So they are the ones that they'll take truckloads of clothes in that like Marshalls or TJ Maxx or one of those folks like bought. Well, let me back up. So a department store will say, all right, hey, it's going to be summer soon. We got to get rid of all the spring stuff. So they will call or they'll put it out to bid. They'll say, hey, Marshalls or TJ Maxx or whomever, you know, we have approximately 1 million units and the unit could be anything. They're like, what do you give us for them? And they just bid. It's like eBay, right? They just bid on all these things. So one of them will win. All of the stores across the country just basically throw all this stuff in boxes, ship it to a distribution center. The distribution center consolidates it. It goes to our client. They unload the truck, and it's like Christmas. Every box is different, right? So I'm watching it, and what they do is they're sorting, right? Because their client, who's the TJ Maxx or the Marshalls, will say, all right, we want all these boxes to have, you know, 3 of these and 4 of these and 7 of those, right? So what our client does is they do that for them. And they do it really pretty quickly. Well, I was watching this operation one day, and if you envision like these long tables in a U shape, so it's like 20 feet by 20 feet by 20 feet. They're pretty big, and there's like 6 or 7 people inside. And they have a couple of runners, and all the runners are doing is grabbing boxes, opening them up, and dumping them out. And the people inside are just running back and forth, and they're grabbing clothes, and they're throwing them into these other bigger boxes behind the benches. So they're like looking, oh, that's a shirt that goes here. These are a pair of shorts that goes there, right? Well, they get to this one thing, and it's a jumper, which I only know what that is because right? I had daughters and they
Yeah.
used to wear these things. So I see this person and they hold the thing up and they're like, I don't know what to call this. Is it pants? Is it short? Is like overall, like, right? So they're standing there, they're holding it and they're like, they can't figure out what to do. So they call over somebody else and they're kind of looking at it. So basically like 5 minutes go by. 5 people have now putting their heads together, decided that it's pants. So they ball it up and they throw it in the pants thing. Well, by the math, they have to do what they just did every like 20 seconds. So they just spent 5 minutes of 5 people's time. So now they're behind, right? Well, so I'm watching all that go down and we're debriefing later. It just so happens somebody else in the company had a spreadsheet that said you're going to get a bunch of jumpers and your customer considers those shorts. So put them in the shorts. That message never got to the floor. So they didn't know, right? So just as a real world example of how I know it's just, and it's, it happens, right? But it's just that communication of, I have some information to share, but maybe I don't know that other people don't have it already. So it's just, a lot of times it's that kind of stuff. The other thing I say a lot is everybody's so busy doing their job that they can't think about how to do their job better. Because again, right?
When we're just trying to get through the day. When you have that many tasks to kind of handle, it's right. the bandwidth, especially over years of constant repetitive action, you're not going to be able to break out of that behavior. Exactly.
It's just like, hey man, I'm just trying to get to 4:00. Like I'm not trying,
punch in, punch out.
So, right. I mean, and it's not to say that they don't care. I'm not saying that at all.
Of course,
but it's just, it's like we all get measured, especially in manufacturing, we get measured on production. So it's like, I got to get this thing done and that's my focus. I'm not thinking about how to do it better. I'm thinking about getting it done right now. And as soon as that's done, I have a shelf over here or a rack over there. It's got the next 20 things I got to be working on. So it's a lot of times it's just head down, blinders on, and just go. Right. So that's part of what we do is we say, okay, we can do the source for the trees thing and say, all right, well, this doesn't quite make sense. Like, this, process 1 is here. Process 2 is way across the shop. Why? 9 times out of 10, it's like, well, that's where we had space to put it at the time 10 years ago when we took that on. So that's just where we stuck it. And it's
not the most efficient place.
I get it, but is that the best place to put it? Probably not.
Gotcha.
So.
Do you ever go into some stores? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you ever go into stores, and you don't have to name names, obviously, whether they're clients of yours or the big name clients, and you're like, they could do that better, kind of nitpick them a little bit?
Every single time, RJ.
Is it hard to turn it off?
It's practically impossible. My wife hates it. Hates it. Where were we? We were just a place... Oh, I won't tell you the name. It was a local bar that I actually enjoy going to. So I don't want to get shadow banned out of there. But they don't have it set up well because the in and out to the kitchen is behind the bar. And the bar, again, is a big U-shaped thing. And it's a pinch point, right? So you got bartenders trying to get in and out. And, oh, by the way, it's the only door in and out instead of having one in and one out. So dirty dishes are going in. It was a nightmare. And we're sitting at the bar. I think this is last Friday night, as a matter of fact. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm doing this and I'm just watching. And she's sitting on my left and I don't know that she's watching me, but she is. And I'm watching. Yeah. I'm like, well, this is screwed up. I'm like, that could, she's like, are you doing what I think she literally says, are you doing what I think you're doing? I'm like, what do you think I'm doing? And she's like, you don't like that door right there. I'm like, it's in the wrong freaking place. I'm like, they got to have a door over. And I just, she's like, okay. She goes, do you want to we're supposed to be relaxing. Like this is the night without the kids. What is your,
Oh my
so
gosh.
yeah, sorry to answer yes. And it is, it's hard to, turn off. Like the worst days, not the worst, I shouldn't say it that way because there's lots of bad things. One of the things I hate is like when like Home Depot or the grocery store rearranges the shelves because they feel like they need to mix it up. And I'm like, it's nails on the chalkboard. Like I hate it. Even though there's signs that I'm like, I freaking knew where the paint rollers were. I was like, I would just need the one thing. And now I got to walk around the store and, and get the solar panel guy's going to hit me up. And I'm like, I don't need this today.
You know who's an offender of that? And I'll call him out. Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop grocery stores are all designed the exact same. However, their shelves and their aisles are different. Why? They should be the same. It shouldn't be that when I go into the one in Warwick, that the Nature's Promise organic gluten-free has their own designated aisle. But then the one in Cranston doesn't have a gluten-free aisle, and the gluten-free is just randomly placed in the candy aisle. And you're like, what is this? That is so inefficient. I would know exactly where to go if it was at my home store. You know what I mean? So, and that kind of piggybacks off my question that I was going to ask you, which was, has this been something that's been going on in your life forever where you've kind of had this thought process? I don't want to say OCD, but like this type A personality where it's like, you've always been like, this can be more efficient. You hyperfixate on those type of things.
Yeah. And you can say OCD because I am officially diagnosed that and ADHD.
I naturally assumed, but I just wanted to wait and see.
100%. 100%.
But that's like a great
personality trait.
This is great because now you're a testament to the fact that like, sometimes these things can be a powerful tool.
Mm-hmm. And they can. And trust me, my dad has it. Of course, he's in his 80s, but unless he's like, bleeding heavily, this guy's not going to the doctor. He's a down East Mainer through and through.
Gotcha.
Like,
okay.
If he was sitting beside me, you guys would never even believe he was my dad. Yeah. It's like we sort of look alike, but he was blue collar dude, dark blue Dickie pants, light blue Dickie shirt his whole life. He's got, hands like catcher's mitts, but the guy can fix anything. But looking back now, I never realized it when I was a kid, but right. So he has it. I got it. My oldest daughter has it. Right. So there is a portion of it that can pay benefits because it's things like that's what makes me, I think, good at what I do. Because it doesn't take me long to look and I can find things that are like out of place or should be better or could be, just things that aren't set up quite right. We went on vacation to Myrtle Beach last summer, the whole family. And the wife and I were like, there's a few coffee shops. Like I don't want to claim coffee snob status, but I like, we go to different places. I'm like, I want to try out the local, right? Whatever. So there was this one coffee shop down there that everyone's like, oh, you got to try it. And we went there and we're sitting there and how do I describe this? It was very artsy inside, which was fine. But I'm just going to say it this way. There was shit everywhere. And it was just random. Like, and it's all supposed to be like, the string lights and the thing is supposed to be aesthetic. And I'm sitting there and my wife, Danielle, she's like, do you want to leave? I'm like, right now.
Overstimulation central. Like, why all the chaos here? Like, it's an art. It's like legit, an artist room.
It wasn't. Yeah. And it's I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying for me, I physically, mentally couldn't handle it. It was just, like you said, it was overstimulating. It was just too much stuff. So part of, lean is having the right things in the right places and nothing else. Like Marie Kondo, that was like the whole big thing. If it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. In lean, it's 5S, which is, I won't go into gory details, but it's basically the same thing, which is get rid of the extra stuff that you just don't need. And New Englanders, it's hard. Right?
Yep.
We are notorious for holding on to stuff because we might need it someday.
The junk drawer.
That's it.
It.
You might need it.
You gotta have a junk drawer. Everyone knows
and
that.
It's hard. It's
batteries, chargers. I have like an iPhone 4 charger, which wouldn't work on anything nowadays. Yet some reason I just don't throw it out.
You'll find you'll need it one day.
And that's the mentality. And it is hard to overcome. But
yeah,
I mean, in my whole career, it's probably tens of millions of dollars worth of stuff that I've gotten rid of. Now, that doesn't mean landfill. It means recycled or sold, or right? But just, it doesn't need to be here. We were doing an event with a client. Literally, this is probably 2 or 3 years ago. We found a box of wire from 1986.
Nice. Great year.
And I'm like,
Great
And
year. Great year.
It was.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm Gen X. I will die
us
on the
too.
1980s best decade hill.
It's all right.
But
We all
I'm
make
like-
mistakes, Paul.
I see your millennial
Yeah.
cachet and raise you. I raise you Duran Duran. But it's, I'm like, and the engineer argued with me a little bit. He's like, but it's not. I'm like, well, we can get rid of that. Well, I'm like, have you used it since? No. I'm like, well, then you don't need it. He's like, but it's not bad. That's the biggest rebuttal I get when I say things like that is, if it's food, obviously it's like, all right, there's a shelf life. There's not a shelf life to titanium, right? Or whatever. But I'm like, to your point, you don't need that iPhone charger. You don't have that phone anymore. You're never going to have that phone again. Like, chuck it.
Yeah.
Right? Get it out of your way.
Let it go.
Right?
Exactly. Well, Paul, that's actually a really good segue into asking you. Now, I'd love to hear the good stories you must have, being that you're working with New England-based businesses, because we are notorious for what we just talked about, but also we have quite a bit of ego around here. So I got to imagine that the kickback from people, although you've been very positive, and you don't have to share negative stories because we certainly don't want to shed a bad light. This is all successful, good business, but you got to have something funny for me to share, because I can't imagine that you walk into these places, start making changes, and there isn't some guy that's like, who the hell does this guy think he is coming in here telling me how to run my business? Like, you know anything about machines, pal? I've been here 30 years. Like, I can just picture it happening. How do you, so give me like
100%
what New England
happens.
state has been the worst offender of that, and how do you overcome that?
Well, let me think. I'm trying to think of the funniest one. Well, let me tell you this story. I don't know if it's funny so much as it is, it doesn't
have to be like directly funny, but just like, like that very New England, we're so New England. So what's like the most New England experience you've had? There's a welder at a client of ours, and he's that guy. Love him.
He's dropping his eyes, and he's like, don't you freaking come over here. If I see you coming, so I'm going to zap you in the head, the whole thing, right?
You can fix everything but my space right here.
And pretty much that's what he told me.
I can picture it.
And he's like, I don't need it. I don't want it. And you move on there, son. I'm like, all right, well, you are older than me, but I'm like not that young anymore. But in any event, so how we overcome it is I do what I do, and I am 100% not the guy that's going to come in and start ordering people around and be like, well, you got to do this and you got to do that because Lean says so. And it's like, that's a great way to get taken out behind the dumpster and smacked around, right?
Right.
And
old Whitey Bulger style.
And I'm not doing right. I'm like, that's not me. So this welder started out like that a little bit. And I'm like, all right, okay. Gradually, I'm just, when I get there, I'm making a lot of times with clients, I'll touch base, but I go out on the shop floor and I touch it, not physically. I say hi to everybody. Hey, good morning. How are you? How are things? Right. And so they get to know me a little bit. They understand what I'm all about. And then this guy, he doesn't talk to me, but he asks a guy to talk to another guy to talk to me to come see him. So I'm like, okay. So I'm up in the conference room where I'm like, I station myself, and I hear and somebody comes in. I'm like, yeah, come on. What's going on? They're like, Mike said he wanted to see you. I'm like, oh, really? All right. Any specific time, or I just swing by because he's got like a weld booth right on the shop floor, and they're like, no, he didn't say whenever. I'm like, okay. They're like, what are you gonna say? I'm like, I don't know because I don't. What does he want? They're like, oh, he didn't say. But he's gruff, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of these guys. He's like, leave me alone. Let me do what I need to do, right? And that's it. So don't bother me. I got it, right? So I go out to see him. So I'm like, poke my head in. I'm like, hey, Mike, you want to see me? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, Ian, this it's coming, right?
Yeah.
This is it. He goes, I wanted to ask you, do you think this could be over here? Because I feel like it's too far away. And then, and I'm like, holy, right? I'm like, this is it. It's it. And it's the other it. it's not the thing I thought I was going to get. And I'm like,
Right.
that's a great idea. Then honestly, we're best friends. He's like, it's like the best. And he's at the end of the day, it's just one of these things where, and it's not that the company wasn't listening to him, but it was, again, everybody there is just really, really busy and they just can't focus on those things. But when I'm there, it's like, it's a little bit of a mental like, oh yeah, the lean guy's here. I meant to ask, like, it's that, just because they see me, they remember, oh yeah, I wanted to do this or I wanted to ask about that. And honestly, everything he was coming up with, I'm like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's great. What else you got? And he's like, oh, and now it's like, every time I see him, he's like, oh, I had this other idea. He just gets excited about it. That's the best part of my job because, and all that stuff, it's there. Every organization, it exists. It's just a matter of, are we listening? Are we asking those questions and giving people the opportunity to make their voices heard? And that's about it.
I love that. I don't know if you're a fan of The Office or if you've ever watched The Office before.
Oh, yeah.
But that reminds me of when Gabe was there with Daryl, and Daryl came up with the idea for the delivery trucks with the paper and like doubling the routes. Mm-hmm. And he told Gabe, and then Gabe got Daryl a promotion, and then Michael Scott found out and was pissed that he went behind his back. That's kind of what it like reminds me of. Like, this guy had these good ideas this whole time, and now that you're there. But that to me is a prime example of why we call it like the So New England, right? You have these New England egos. You go in and you're the guy that's going to tell everyone how to be better at their job, who's been there for years. And they're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And then once they realize that they have to give in, now they're telling you how to be better at your job, which is to tell them how to do their job better. And I love that. I think that that's great because what's more New England than people thinking that they're right about absolutely everything? They're like, I'm going to tell the guy who's going to tell me to be more efficient, like, this is what we should do because I'm probably better than you at your job too. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I bet it's a lot easier too once you kind of sway that guy over. Mm-hmm. Like that's probably like, for lack of a better term, your problem child, where you get that guy and then everyone else kind of buys in because like, everyone's kind of on the fence. Like, and every company has that one guy. Mm-hmm. And, once you smooth him over, it's kind of like smooth sailing because you can get him and you can get the rest of us. He's like the spokesperson.
Yeah. It's a normal distribution. So for the nerds that are listening, they'll know what that is. But it's basically, one tail end is all in right away because they're like, yeah, I love it. Let's go. The vast majority of folks are somewhere in the middle, right? They're like, I could take it or leave it, whatever. And then the other tail end are the other ones that are like, this is a bunch of BS. I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. But the most proud I ever am is when we can convert those folks. And a lot of times it's not even anything we do or say. They were always ready to like do it, but it was just that you're right. It's that like that New England, like I've been doing this I know, and you're not going to tell me. And that is specifically why I do not come in and say things like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Right. Because the natural inclination, especially up here, is, you betcha, bub. Good luck with that. Right.
Speaking of up here, so you're a born and raised Mainer, huh? And now the business is based out of where?
Now?
Yeah. Kind of all over?
Connecticut.
Oh, Paul. Oh, this was almost a great episode.
I know.
This was almost a great episode.
I'm sorry. This wasn't my choice. It's where I got a job out of college.
There you go. So then you're well traveled. Then
you're New England based.
If you're, I forgot the term you used. I really liked it that you logged a lot of miles behind the glass or the windshield.
Windshield time.
Windshield time. I love that. I'm going to steal that one. I like it, Paul. Since you have so much windshield time, you got to tell me you've been to all the states. Let's chop up a little bit. Give me some of your ranking. What's your favorite states? What state has the best food to you? Because you're on the road, so you got to be grabbing grinders or subs or spuckies, whatever you decide to call them. And sandwiches, if you do normal English vocabulary.
If
you got a favorite New England food, let's hear all of it.
I knew you were going to ask me this. I've been dreading this question because it's like there's no right answer other than making Connecticut last. I think pretty much all your listeners agree to that one, which that's fine. But
we have one guy. Sorry to interrupt you, Paul. We have one guy. He doesn't follow us. But anytime anyone says anything bad about Connecticut, he's in the comments defending Connecticut. And I respect the shit out of it, which is fine because it's like he's all about, I think he's from West Hartford, but he's all about it. It's like, dude, you're giving us the engagement. Just jump on the train, brother. We want you here. We love it.
Yeah.
It's great. But go ahead. Sorry, Paul.
It's all right. It's more than fine. So all right. Number one is Maine. I got to rep the 207.
You got to.
It's
understandable.
the best.
Respect it.
It is. It's the best. Then I think I'm going to say New Hampshire.
Nice.
All right.
It's
2 for
like
2 in the
Junior,
north.
right? The third, I was waffling on the third one. Like, I want to say, I think I'm going to go Vermont.
Keeping it all in the north.
Well, I kind of feel like upper New England, and there's like upper and lower, right? Not to like put arbitrary
put us down. I get it. I respect
boundaries.
I'm a woods guy, so I like it.
Yeah, well, see, and that's just it. There's a certain stoicism that comes along with like being a Mainer that you just I have never seen anywhere else. Not even in other places in New England. Maybe
that's the
Vermont,
only place for it.
But
it's the only place you're gonna get.
But I was gonna say Massachusetts because I mean that's where lean was sort of born. That's where the term lean came out of MIT after they studied Toyota. So there's that, and of course all the major sports teams are all right on Boston bait, right? Although right now it's pretty rough being a Boston fan.
It is.
I mean,
we're not. Yup.
A little gloomy at the moment.
Yeah,
but we're getting there. Maybe we're. You know what? I think we need to bring in lean consulting to all of these Boston-based teams, and maybe you can kind of get the efficiency down better. Maybe we can stop with the bad coaching, stop with the scandals, stop with all the junk, and just like everyone be happy. You're very well compensated for what you do for a living. Let's just have a good time, and let's respect the fans, and bring down the damn ticket prices. Christ's sakes.
100%. So John Henry, if you're listening, hit me up. I'm easy to find. Let's go. Right? If you want to get me somebody a box at Gillette, I'll trade off. Let's just do that. I'm in.
I love it.
But so then I guess probably Rhode Island, and then I got to put Connecticut at the bottom. Just because I mean, my wife is from here. My kids were born here. I live here. But it's honestly, I feel like. But let's all like those 6, they're above everywhere else. So there's no hate. No, I'm not throwing shade at anybody or any, right? I think as far as Connecticut goes, we have a lot of cool stuff. What we don't do a great job at is promoting it. We don't, right? People think Connecticut, like even I'll go back, I haven't been back in a while, but like when I used to go back to my high school reunions, people are like, oh, Connecticut. Everybody down there is really rich because everyone thinks the 203 area code and Greenwich and all that stuff. And it's like, that it is. That's not the whole of Connecticut. Like the town I live in has the largest dairy farm in the whole state. Literally, and I did the math by myself. The town I live in is 10 humans to 1 cow. Like legit, right? So for every 10 people, there's a cow. So
wow,
it's not like, there's not a lot of McMansions around.
In Greenwich, I think it's for every 10 Maseratis, there's one person.
Yeah, right.
Or Lamborghinis, I don't know.
But, we have good hiking and good, there's lots of good things here.
I've done some hiking in Connecticut, some trail walking and stuff like that. It's very beautiful. It's definitely underrated. I mean, it's not better than the other New England states, but it's definitely underrated.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we don't have the elevation like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont kind of have, or the Berkshires are obviously very nice. Love going to Tanglewood. Saw Bare Naked Ladies there last summer. It was kick ass.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Sick. It was great.
Now, if so, what's like your go-to New England meal? You're on the road. Like where are you stopping? What state is it in? Logging those windshield hours.
Yeah, good question. So if I'm up in Maine, I'm usually heading off in Kittery at Bob's Clam Hut. Right?
Sounds good.
Maine Diner, pretty good. Although right now they're up for sale. So if you guys want to go thirds, it's only $3 million. So we'll kick
that's
in
not bad.
$1 million.
I know a guy that can help us lean it out.
There you go. I'm just saying. I got a guy.
Got a guy.
You got to have a guy.
Hey. And I know this has been mentioned before, but Burlington, Vermont's pizza scene's pretty darn good.
So we've heard. Have heard.
There's a place, I forget the name of it, but there's a wood-fired place. I'm like, you wouldn't expect it, but
I'm hearing nothing but good things about Burlington, Vermont in general, but the pizza scene specifically. So I look forward to going up and grabbing a slice.
Yeah. The only problem is it's way up there,
Yeah. Burlington is not close, especially not for a Rhode Islander.
No, right? Oh, up in Western Mass in Pittsfield, Antimony Brewing, top notch. Love it there. Every time I'm out that way, I make sure to swing by.
Fantastic.
It's great.
Now we have a list that we have to look into.
I mean, that's part of the fun is when I'm out, I'm doing my thing and then it's the end of the day and everybody goes home and I'm still there. So I don't want to DoorDash something to the hotel because it'd just be by myself. That's right. A little depressing.
You got to be out letting people know who you are. You got to be exploring all New England has to offer for all of us.
Right. And I mean, the brewery scene is great. We don't have a ton of clients up in Vermont, but I got to get up there. I get some Heady Topper, the whole thing.
A couple LL Bean boots, a nice little Carhartt jacket, little beanie falling off the left side of the head, and you get yourself a brewery. That's it, man. That's the northern New England for you.
I do have a Carhartt. Actually, I had to get a new one because the old one wore out. And it's funny. So in a very real New England way, like people are like, nice Carhartt. Yeah. Because it looks brand new. I'm like, I needed a new one because the old one wore out. I'm like, I'm not. I swear. I almost wish I still had the old one. It had holes in it and everything.
Well, I do have to plug, as much as Carhartt's a great jacket, if anyone is interested in jackets, and we're talking about manufacturing on this episode, I do want to shamelessly plug our buddy Peter over at Origin, who is also a manufacturer based in Maine, who also has new jackets just like that. They're going to be coming out pretty soon, I'm pretty sure. So keep an eye on those. Not to shamelessly plug that, but we like to keep it in the family here in New England. So
absolutely.
That's what our business is all about. It's just trying to help, because the more that we can help make things more efficient, it makes everybody's lives better. So there's not as much employee turnover. People are happier, which quite frankly, we could use
which
here
matters,
in New England.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, not for nothing, but I refuse. I won't drive in Boston anymore. I don't. I'm parking in Newton and taking the T, or I'll do the Logan Express, but I am 100%. We had a client in the financial district. I went the wrong way down a one-way street at like noon on a Thursday. And I thought I'm like, I'm dead. I'm a dead man.
This is the end for me.
I pulled up to the intersection. Across the intersection, there's 3 lanes of cars heading at me.
Oh, gosh.
And I look up and there's no stoplight. And I'm like, shit. And I look over, there's 3 guys. There's 3 guys standing on the corner. And one of them just looks at me and he goes like this. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what do I do? I put the window on. I'm like, what do I do? He's like, I can't say what he said, but he goes, you're effed. Yeah. I'm like, thank you. So I didn't beg you. I just went right and just got the hell out of there.
That was his helping love language.
Right? That was help to him for sure.
Paul, where can everybody find you online if they're looking to hire you for your services? How can they get in touch with you? Give us the deets.
I'm pretty easy to find. Just LinkedIn, it's Paul Critchley. Instagram's New England Lean Guy. So, like I said, the website's newenglandlean.com. So even if you Google Paul Critchley Lean, I pop up because I've done, all kinds of different things. So I'm pretty easy to find. The only thing I did want to mention is, because quite frankly, the states do a crappy job at promoting it. Every New England state has grants that we have access to, that we've either, can access or have gotten approved to provide under, that help offset costs. Because a lot of times that's the next question is, okay, everything you said sounds great, but how much do I have to pay you guys to come in and do that? And can you guarantee the return on investment, right? Well, so we talk about those things and I'm like, well, this is what I'm saying. And this is what I think, I'll save you year over year. And a lot of times those numbers pan out, but it's not a bad thing, especially and I'll give Massachusetts props. They have the Commonwealth Corporation that has a couple of grant programs that are amazing. They cover 100% of the training that we can come in and do. And we've had clients over the years, $100,000, $200,000 training programs that have paid, and I can show those case studies that have paid those dividends. So if you're interested, there are ways of trying to, offset costs to help, again, because that's our goal. We just want to help, because the more things that we can do to help, that keeps businesses here. It keeps people employed here. And quite frankly, it keeps them paying taxes, which makes the government happy, right?
Yeah.
But we're under, right? There are the southern states that are cheaper. It's a face facts, right? They're cheaper to operate in, right? It costs money to move a company down there, but after a while, they'll save money. So the more we can do to keep businesses and jobs and everything here, it's all the more better.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Paul, thank you so much for your wonderful conversation. Thank you for sharing so much about lean consulting and letting everybody know the ins and outs of the industry. And I hope from this episode, anyone that might be looking for your services reaches out.
I do too. Thank you again for having me. I love what you guys are doing. Keep up the good work.
We will try our best. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude episode 3 of the Business Spotlight here at the So New England podcast. Please try and remember, folks, life's better in New England.
Red Sox crack and the Celtics fly.